Very good. Well, thank you for hearing our application this afternoon. I'm here with 2 colleagues who are supporting it, but we do have 16 members who are supporting it, and it is about the performance of MHRA, that is the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. And this is so important because this is the body that is responsible for the safety and efficacy of medicines and medical devices. It is the only body that decides if a drug is approved in the UK or not. And Graham and I co-chair the APPG on pandemic response and recovery, and we set that up in 2021. And since then, the body that keeps coming up and keeps being raised with us is the MHRA for, as people will see it, failing in its responsibilities. So I'm going to give you just a couple of key issues that have been raised by colleagues and other people and why we think it's such an important thing to have a debate on. Firstly, it's the yellow card scheme and the reporting scheme, and that really is for people to report if they feel they've had an adverse reaction to a drug, and it's how that scheme is followed, how it's used, how it's meant to be an early warning scheme about a drug. But really, from an independent review back in 2020, it showed that it was too complex. It was too diffuse, and it didn't really allow for early detention. Most people didn't even know about the yellow cards scheme, but if you go to other countries, Scandinavian countries, they have a mandatory reporting system that we don't have here. Following on from that, FOI showed us that the MHRA does not hold a process for the investigation and follow-up of yellow card reports. And the reason the APPG for Pandemic Response and Recovery is important in this is it's really been highlighted what was missing in the yellow card scheme, after what had happened there. And one of the follow-ups that the FOI showed that the MHRA only followed up 54% of deaths reported in the yellow card. And it also questioned when other countries were stopping using the AstraZeneca vaccine because of an autoimmune condition. We were several months behind, and was it really in this failing of this yellow card scheme? Next, another issue that's been raised with us is really about the funding of this regulatory body. Report going back to 2004 talked about the influence of the pharmaceutical industry and found that really it was unusual in being one of the few European agencies funded entirely by fees derived from the industry. And 20 years on, this is still being raised as a question. There had been no follow-on there. And then other issues that caused concern about this agency. The Chief Executive, Dame June Rains, had talked about how this agency had moved really from a watchdog to an enabler. And really, when it's meant to be maybe a doorkeeper, a gatekeeper, it wasn't. Was there a conflict of interest there? And also talking about transparency, it's worth noting that between 2008 and 2017, only 41% of FOI requests were successful. Again, questioning the transparency of the organisation. Now, one of the chairs of the APPG and a colleague who is supporting this for the hormone pregnancy test, Yasmin Qureshi, is unable to be here today, but I understand she sent a letter of support, and that is a group of people, that is a set of MPs who've really been through a lot and understand the MHRA through the work they've done with Primodos. And Theresa May did do and made sure there was an independent review on the MHRA in light of Primodos, and they found that there were avoidable harms that had occurred. So again, this just brings in to light really the scrutiny that we need to have and a debate that we need to have on this agency, because it is devastating impacts. It is real impacts on patients, and I just think for people to have faith in the pharmaceutical industry, faith in the medicines and the medical devices they are taking. They do need to know that the regulatory body that is overseeing them is doing the best job it can possibly do, and that is why we're coming together to ask for a debate on this.
Okay, thank you. Graham, anything to add?
I think Esther's given a fairly comprehensive view. I just want to make a couple of general points. We live in a time of breakthroughs in medicine, and also, unfortunately, breakthroughs on the other side of the equation of new viruses and germs generally. And in that context, it's important that the public have confidence in the new medicines that are there, and that they can be seen that those medicines have been properly tested and are safe. Because one of the dangers is not just from the bugs that are coming out, it is if there is a failure of confidence in the public in the medicines that are being produced, then they won't be effective, because often you have to use those medicines across the whole of society. So I think that's important. One of the specific issues, and this was dealt with by the Science and Technology Committee probably about 3 parliaments ago, is the use of equivalence for new things that are put into bodies, new medical devices that are put in. And it is always a relatively subjective view whether there is equivalence or not. And it's not only always clear that that has happened. So I think there is public interest in this. I don't think the MHRA has covered itself in glory. It's a worry that within Europe it is one of the few that is mainly funded by the pharmaceutical industry, and we're all aware of scandals that there have been within the pharmaceutical industries over the years. So I think having a debate about it and what the MHRA has been up to would get public interest, get interest from members, and hopefully would get a decent response from the government.
Okay. Rupert, anything to add?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm very happy to support Esther in the request for this debate. I think there arguably hasn't been enough scrutiny of the MHRA in Parliament. I think given the funding of the MHRA, it does lead to questions about conflicts of interest, which I think it's in the public interest to actually discuss and debate. I've asked a question recently which has thrown up the fact that there have been 500,000 yellow card incidents, which that's what's come back to my office. As far as I'm aware, there's no process for a proper follow-up on these incidents. And I think it's a case of good government is transparent government, and I think this entire agency and the entire issue of what happened during those 2 mad years needs parliamentary scrutiny, and I think arguably it's overdue. So I think Esther's covered most of it pretty comprehensively, but that's why I think we do need this debate.
Okay, thank you. Now, you've got a dual application here, either for a Chamber or Westminster Hall, which has covered all the bases, but you've got enough speakers on, as far as that is concerned. I presume your preference would be for a Chamber debate if it was available.
Yes, if it was available, yes.
And although we don't know that we've got the Chamber for the 12th of December, that would be the earliest date we would be able to allocate. It also would coincide, I think, probably for Westminster Hall along those lines as well. If we offered you that date, would you be able to accept it? It would be the first slot because you've got a motion.
Mm-hmm. I could. I don't know if anybody wants
which
to check. So this is Thursday, the 12th of December.
Correct.
I would only raise, and I don't want to be the one to do it really, but there is only 3 on the government side in that list.
Yeah, the other thing obviously is we normally try and expect half and half between government and opposition speakers. as Chris says, there's only 3 government side at the moment. I think this is not. I don't think it's going to be controversial for the government because the Health Secretary certainly was supportive of a review of MHRA this morning when I asked him about it. So I'm sure you'll be able to get some extra government speakers, and there's time to do it.
I can do the 12th.
I can make myself available. Yep.
Okay. So then that would be grand.
Well, that's not confirmed yet. That's
Okay, well, I'm putting it in. I'm writing it in pencil then.
I would want it to be on the basis of you having got more government speakers.
Yeah. Any other questions from colleagues? No? Okay, well, thank you. The clerks will be in touch with you about the date and time of any debate. Thank you.